So for the next step, you're going to have to first master some basic skills. If you haven't mastered how to see the hidden truth, how to do basic visionary work, how to what we call be guided, be quote hollow bone, be guided. There's just no way around. You you shouldn't even be attempting to do this unless you've learned those basic skills. That being said, as long as you've learned those basic skills, this is quite simple. This is still on the simple level. This is what I still consider. As long as you've got, keep in mind it takes probably a year to 2 years to fully master all those basic skills that I talk about in all the basic lessons that I do. So assuming that you've got that already and you know how to do all that, and we won't explain all that in this video. If you want to learn more about that, check out the basic lessons playlist. But basically, there's 3 things that I want to cover in this kind of still quite common, still quite basic, but a little higher level. So there's the rituals, obviously. And then there's the runes and the symbols. Why did I not put runes and symbols with, say, the protection relics and stones? Doesn't that seem like it should go with it? Well, the reason why is because actually runes and symbols are not as simplistic as that. Unfortunately, it takes the skill to be able to firstly see the hidden truth, and secondly to get that visionary, that basic visionary skill, in order to know exactly that you've got the right rune for said thing, and that or symbol for said thing. I'd say more symbols. I guess just by the way that they look, people have retained. But when it gets to what they mean, what they actually mean, there's unfortunate amount of some symbols even being turned on their head as to the exact opposite as to what they actually do mean. And runes, less of them are still known. So the ones that are still known, and most of those runes aren't even the ancient runes, they're the modern day runes. And modern, I even consider like the Norse mythology runes. I even consider stuff like that modern, because if you start talking Norse mythology, that's the gods and goddesses and all the kind of stuff that went along with that. That's actually very, very modern compared to ancient paganism. So you're looking at this through the eyes of ancient paganism, and really there's not many runes that are still known that you can look up. Runes, one rune can mean many different things, but it's always going to have, and I talk about this in the runes video if you want to learn more about runes, I have a video just on runes, but you know, they all have a very general basic energy and meaning to them, even if you can use them for several different things. Because they are a little broad, to certain said scenario, you may have to interpret one way, and then a different scenario it's interpreted, but it will never change. The vibrational energy will never change. That rune, the energy of the rune, the meaning of the rune, in terms of that, will never change. But what you specifically use it for might. So within reason. So basically, you know, you can't use a rune that's designed specifically, say, for, I don't know, influence. You can't use that for war magic, because that's not what it was designed for. See what I'm saying? So within reason, you know, and the way that we do ancient runes is that simply you have to be what I call guided. You have to have that ancestral knowledge, being guided, knowing, that whatever's guiding you is what is meant to guide you. Number one. Number two, you need to get some kind of vision of what you need to draw before you draw it. So basically, what I do, the easiest way for me was to just kind of close my eyes, get the vision of it, and then draw it. And what you're doing, even before you get the vision, you're going into it with the intent that, okay, I need this rune, whatever rune it is, I need it to do this type of protection work. There's all different kinds of protection. And protection magic, unfortunately, even if it's a ritual, you're not going to be able to do something so broad spectrum that it protects you from everything under the sun. So you're going to have to protect against things individually. For example, maybe I do a ritual to protect against malicious spirits, and that is a ritual by itself. Maybe I do another ritual to protect the forest from, from burning down. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is, just whatever the reason, maybe I do a different ritual to protect against said person, a specific person. But you can't, it's too great, it's too powerful. In the laws of the universe, you can't just do a protection spell to protect you against everything that could possibly, may or may not come your way. That's not how it works. So going back to the symbols, the runes, and that sort of thing, as long as you're guided and you know how to listen properly, that's pretty simplistic. If you want to watch the runes and symbols playlist, we got something like that to really get in depth with that. But we're not going to talk much more about it because it's pretty self-explanatory as far as what we're talking about for this. For the rituals, well, actually, one thing I do want to mention about runes. Runes, although they do set things in stone, you need to have the intent for it to be permanent. Or say that I make the rune out of sticks, out of little limbs, and I set it down amidst the forest, and then the wind blows and it blows them away. If I did not set up the magic with the intent that it was going to always stay there for however long I needed it, meaning that even if the rune got destroyed, the magic would still be there. If I didn't set it up like that, as soon as it got destroyed, it's gone. The magic is gone. But as long as the rune still stands, you don't need to do anything extra to set it in stone. So say it's a tattoo on you or something, that's definitely going to last forever until you die and decompose. So it depends on the nature of it. But if it's something that can be blown away or something like that, for example, then you have to have it with the intent. And a lot of times runes are paired with rituals for that very reason. You have to have the intent to set that in stone, and a ritual would be able to set it in stone even if that blew away, for example. So when you're doing rituals, it's always exceptionally specific. When you're being guided, you have to say and do things a very, very, very specific way. But we get into trouble when we try to look it up online or try to go by a book or something that someone has written. Unfortunately, paganism, about a couple hundred years ago, we were still majority of us were still of pure intent. But nowadays, we are no longer an exception to human society. Nowadays, unfortunately, even in paganism, unfortunately, it's no better than anything else, any other culture, any other human society anywhere. and it's getting dusk, so it's getting a little dark. I apologise, I might have to turn on a light, but we're no different. Unfortunately, when you look at the realm of how many people are of pure intent versus ill intent, nowadays there are more of ill intent than there are of pure intent, even in paganism. And so to trust someone's book or to trust someone to do a spell for you is really pushing your luck, is standing in the line of fire unless you really, 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 really trust them. The way I've always done rituals is through being guided, through that sacred guidance. Usually it's my spirit guardians, it's my turn for spirit guides, but it's not the stupid occult thing. It's the ones that are there from birth to death, sometimes a little before and a little after, okay? Those, the spirits are with you your entire life. That's the ones I'm talking about. Usually for me, those are the ones that are guiding me, but sometimes it is other spirit guides that are not my spirit guardians. Sometimes it's totemic, sometimes it's nature itself that's guiding me. But whatever it is that's guiding you, basically it has to be something that you have a good ear for, because if you don't know what you're feeling a pull towards to do, then you're not going to know whether or not you got it right. And that sacred permission is very important. You know I'm going to talk about that. If you don't have sacred permission to do this, if you're not worthy of this protection or whatever you're doing to gain protection, let me just tell you, any kind of ritual should not involve any kind of stupid sacrificial crap. No. For protection, it doesn't. No binding is necessary. Binding is not necessary. It's literally very, very simple. It's harmonizing, working with something, a protector energy, or pulling it from yourself, from within, or pulling from the knowledge of the ancestors. It's that kind of thing. And basically, if you don't have permission to do said something, then it's not going to give you any protection at all. In fact, it's probably going to give you a threefold punishment, and we all know what those are. So if you don't, you can look it up. But basically, that is what we're getting into with this. You're still relying, even with spells and runes and things, you are still relying, much like the relics, much like the protection stones and protector spirits, you are still relying on something or someone else to do the magic for you. Now, in the next few videos, we're going to talk about things that mostly that magic has to come for you, and that's why it's a lot more difficult. A lot of that, especially physical, tangible protection magic, has to come from you. Not to say that maybe a protector couldn't do this for you, but we're on the assumption that it is coming from you. Whether it's a shield or what I call an arrow/dagger, or what we call rivers. There are a lot of different types of protection that have to come from your own magic, that you have to create, that you have to piece together. Even if you're using some kind of tool, like a horn or something, you're still the one that has to put it all together and make it work. So that's what we'll be talking about next.